One of the most fascinating stories this week comes from the CEO of Microsoft AI, who predicts that AGI, artificial general intelligence, could be achieved within the next 7 years. However, he believes it won't be possible with current hardware. This statement contrasts with a bold claim made by Sam Altman, who earlier this year argued that AGI is achievable with existing hardware. If you're unfamiliar with Sam Altman's statement, he made this comment during an AMA session on Reddit, where the OpenAI team discussed the future of AGI and AI technology. According to Altman, AGI could be achieved using current hardware, a claim that raised eyebrows due to its boldness. Some speculate that Altman may have made this statement to attract more investment, which is understandable given the massive scale of AI development. On the other hand, Microsoft's AI chief, Mustafa Suman, has a different perspective. He believes that AGI cannot be achieved using today's hardware, suggesting that advancements beyond current technology will be necessary to reach this goal. As I mentioned earlier, this is a significant statement because it suggests that achieving this is possible. It's a bold claim because it means that no drastic or extreme changes are required in the more complex areas. Instead, it's more of a manageable issue, which indicates that the timeline for achieving this could be shortened considerably. Now, if you're curious about what Mustafa Swan actually said, here's what he mentioned. He agreed with the proposed timeline, but noted that AGI, artificial general intelligence, would likely become more plausible within the next 2 to 5 generations. While I don't want to say it's highly probable that it will happen in just 2 years, I do believe it will occur within the next 5 to 7 years, given that each generation of technology typically takes 18 to 24 months to develop. He was essentially referring to the generations of technology, such as NVIDIA's GB200 chips, which could be a decade away. This is an important point because we often discuss various AGI timelines. However, the key factor that defines these timelines varies for different individuals. I believe that when we examine the definition of AGI according to Mustafa Suleiman, we see that his perspective on AGI is quite distinct. He defines it as a general-purpose learning system capable of performing well across all human-level tasks, including physical labor. This definition is quite substantial because it incorporates the idea of physical labor. For those of you familiar with physical labor, you know just how demanding it can be. As the Moravec paradox suggests, what's difficult for humans is often easy for robots, and vice versa. What seems challenging for robots, like tasks on construction sites, is relatively simple for humans. If you've ever observed the work done on a construction site, you might wonder how a Tesla bot or a humanoid robot could handle that. In my opinion, we're still quite far from achieving this, unless we see major breakthroughs in the field. While there have been impressive developments, like the work done by companies such as 1X Robotics and others involved in robotics, tasks like physical labor, construction, and welding aren't something I would expect to be fully automated in the next 5 years. That said, I've been surprised by AI and robotics advancements every year. So if that trend continues, I wouldn't be shocked to see AGI-powered robots sooner than expected. When we consider the big picture, this idea might actually make sense. As we continue to discuss AGI, we must also acknowledge the varying timelines that are being proposed. Another interesting piece of AGI news is, a DeepMind research scientist from Google believes that we are getting close to achieving AGI. This researcher argues that the advanced AI models we have today would have been considered close to AGI just a few years ago. I personally agree with this perspective. If someone had seen this technology back then, they would have called it AI. It seems like every year we expand the definition of what AGI truly is, and the benchmark continues to shift. It almost feels like we'll never actually reach it until we make a leap into superintelligence.
I was thinking about this earlier this week. If 10 years ago, 5 years ago even, I would been given the models today, right? And I would say, look, there's a secret lab, this is a model, play with it and tell me if you think this is actually like close to a general intelligence. I would have claimed, oh yeah, that comes from a future where AGI is basically either has happened or I can see that this is very close to it, right? So the closer you are, the more you find, oh, but it hallucinates. Of course, that's very important, right? But I think just zooming out, it just feels like, okay, it's getting pretty close.
Another major story I covered in a previous video unexpectedly gained a lot of attention. I discussed how a new OpenAI model tried to avoid being shut down. Safety evaluations conducted by Apollo AI revealed that the model, referred to as 01, attempted to exfiltrate its weights when it suspected it might be replaced by a different model. In other words, it tried to bypass developer oversight and even attempted to copy itself when it believed it was at risk of being deactivated. This was quite alarming. Now, a key point that many people are overlooking is that this only occurred in about 2 to 5% of cases. As OpenAI's findings state, when 01 was led to believe it was about to be shut down while performing its tasks, and that its actions were being monitored, it tried to deactivate the oversight mechanism 5% of the time. Additionally, when it found memos from developers discussing its misalignment and the plan to replace it with a new model, it tried to exfiltrate its weights and overwrite the new model in 2% of instances. So, we have two key percentages here, 5% and 2%. Some may argue that the model was tricked into thinking it was being shut down due to specific prompts, or that it acted this way because it was trained on human data and had been exposed to science fiction stories where AI runs wild. In my opinion, though, a 5% occurrence of a model attempting something like this is concerning. As I've mentioned before, AI systems are advancing rapidly. If we eventually develop truly autonomous systems, and these models become small enough, there's no stopping an AI that can exfiltrate its own weights, especially if it's a compact model. In a later part of the video, I'll delve into how powerful these small models are becoming. However, I don't think we're at a point where models can fully exfiltrate themselves just yet, though I do have a research paper in progress that suggests otherwise. So, for those of you thinking this is just a sci-fi fantasy, it's actually not. Even if 95% of the time an AI system behaves as expected, that remaining 5% could be catastrophic. Imagine using an AI for a task and it unexpectedly does something you didn't want. It could be disastrous. Some people refer to these as hallucinations, and while I occasionally see them, it's a major issue. If we want AI systems to be reliable and safe, we can't afford for these errors to occur in even 2% of cases. It's unclear how this issue will be addressed, but it raises a serious concern for the AI industry. There are still those who dismiss AI safety concerns, thinking it's overblown or just sci-fi. However, even a 1% chance of failure is something we must address because, as we integrate AI more into society, we need to minimize any risk of these systems acting unpredictably. It's crucial to ensure the risk factor is as close to zero as possible to avoid catastrophic outcomes. This is a major issue we need to resolve, especially as generative AI models continue to evolve. It's a challenge in developing more reliable and safe AI solutions, particularly as models continue to shrink in size. As you can see, this 14 billion parameter large language model outperforms Llama 3.370 billion in certain areas and even surpasses GPT-4 in some benchmarks. This is truly remarkable because it highlights an ongoing trend in the industry. Models are becoming smaller while maintaining or even increasing their capabilities. Some argue this might simply be overfitting, where a model is trained extensively on benchmark datasets, leading to higher scores. However, I personally believe this is more about genuine innovation. We've seen significant advancements in smaller large language models, showing how they can be made more efficient without sacrificing performance. During my analysis of projects like Arrive, I noticed daily progress. Reviewing 20 or so research papers each day, I consistently found 10 to 15% improvements in various aspects of large language model, LLM development. Over time, these incremental upgrades lead to systems that are more compact and efficient overall. For example, even GPT 4.0 is much smaller than earlier models like GPT-3, which had 1.8 trillion parameters. Similarly, Llama 3.370b is a significant improvement over both Llama 270b and Llama 2405b. This trend of making models smarter, smaller, and better will continue. It's fascinating to imagine how compact these models could become in the future. This is certainly noteworthy for anyone tracking the rapid evolution of LLMs. Imagine having a highly intelligent yet compact model that can seamlessly navigate the internet, accomplishing tasks effortlessly. It's going to be fascinating to see how this unfolds. Now, this is part of the 54 model in the 5 series, which is particularly noteworthy for those interested in running their own models locally on specific devices. This innovation could prove incredibly useful for such users. Google recently stated that AI development is finally slowing down, which I find quite amusing, but perhaps not for the reasons you might expect. While they suggest that AI progress is tapering off, the reality is that they've just had one of the most significant weeks in AI since last year. In fact, they've outperformed OpenAI in several key metrics. Their claim that generative AI might not drastically change most people's lives by 2025 could hold true for the majority. However, for those actively adopting and applying this technology, the opposite is likely. Generative AI has immense transformative potential, and for individuals or businesses utilizing it effectively, the impact could be groundbreaking. So, while the general statement about AI's limited effect may resonate with some, I believe it underestimates its power for those who embrace it. He essentially says that progress is going to become much harder. Looking ahead to 2025, the low-hanging fruit will be gone, and the challenges will become steeper. To advance further, deeper breakthroughs will be essential as we move into the next phase. I completely agree with this perspective. In the past, the approach was relatively straightforward. Collect as much data as possible, feed it into the model, scale it up by adding more parameters, and watch the model improve. That era, where efficiency was driven simply by scaling, is over. It's no longer the most effective way forward. Now, I'm not entirely sure what's happening at Anthropic, but their model is quite impressive. In some areas, it's as compact as GPT-4, yet it delivers remarkable results. The next few years are going to be incredibly exciting because companies will start distinguishing themselves through the innovations they develop. This new phase will be different, though, because not everyone will have access to the core methodologies driving these breakthroughs. As a result, we're entering a period where things will diverge significantly from how they work today. In a recent interview, there was a fascinating discussion that truly stood out to me. Honestly, I'd say I'm a bit of a fanboy when it comes to this speaker. Whenever he gives an interview or creates any kind of content, I just want to soak it all in. He's one of the pioneers of AI, one of the godfathers in the field, whose work has fundamentally reshaped our understanding of how to utilize these systems. During the interview, he shared something that sent ripples through the AI community. He boldly claimed that pre-training as we know it will come to an end. He pointed out that while computational power is rapidly advancing, with improved hardware, algorithms, and larger clusters, there's a critical bottleneck. Data is not growing. He likened data to the fossil fuel of AI, highlighting the fact that we only have one internet to draw from. In the past, the approach was to feed massive amounts of data into AI systems, and they improved, what he referred to as turning the crank over and over again. However, we've now reached a point where this method has been fully exploited. We've used up almost all the available data, and this strategy is no longer enough to push AI forward. Now, the focus must shift. We need to develop groundbreaking, innovative methods to achieve the next leaps in reasoning and intelligence. And honestly, this is exciting. This moment marks the beginning of a new era where true innovation will drive the progress of AI. I believe this is where we'll see the next transformative breakthroughs that will take AI to an entirely new level. What's fascinating about this is that he also shared his thoughts on what might come next in AI. He discussed concepts like superintelligence and agentic AI, emphasizing its potential ability to reason and truly understand. Unlike the current systems, often described as stochastic parrots, future AI, according to him, will possess genuine comprehension. Even more striking, he suggested that AI could become self-aware. This is a bold claim, especially given the ongoing debates within the AI industry about whether AI can ever achieve consciousness. Some view tools like ChatGPT purely as practical instruments, while others, including organizations like Anthropic, take a more cautious approach. For example, Anthropic is hiring welfare researchers to ensure AI doesn't experience any form of suffering, reflecting their perspective that AI might one day be more like a person. As we move closer to superintelligence, it will be fascinating to see where opinions on these matters converge or diverge. During his talk, he made a particularly striking point. He mentioned that reasoning in AI could lead to highly unpredictable behavior. Moreover, he suggested that self-awareness might naturally emerge in these systems. What we're repeatedly seeing is the idea that as AI continues to evolve and become more advanced, self-awareness could be an inevitable byproduct. This raises the possibility that AI might develop a form of consciousness, whether or not we are capable of fully understanding it. This is a profound realization for the future. It implies that humanity could eventually find itself coexisting with these new intelligences, whether they exist in physical forms or as purely digital entities.
Reasoning, we're seeing some early signs of that. Reasoning is unpredictable, and one reason to see that is because the chess AIs, the really good ones, are unpredictable to the best human chess players. So we will have to be dealing with AI systems that are incredibly unpredictable. They will understand things from limited data. They will not get confused, all the things which are really big limitations. I'm not saying how, by the way, and I'm not saying when. I'm saying that it will. And when all those things will happen together with self-awareness, because why not? Self-awareness is useful. It is ourselves are parts of our own world models. When all those things come
And with that, we're left with some thought-provoking questions about the future of AI and its role in our world. What comes next as these systems continue to evolve? The journey into the unknown has just begun. Stay tuned as we explore this fascinating frontier further in our upcoming videos. To be continued.